All right. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to introduce Harue to you today. Harue Juang is one of our Ballwin therapists who at Marble Wellness who gets to see individuals really across the lifespan, starting as young as age 3. So she's one of our incredible child therapists, play therapists. Who does art in therapy and has a real heart for working with folks dealing with life transitions, grief, things like that. So we've got a really exciting and deep session for you today. So, grab a snack and be ready to, just to dig in with Haru. Um, and then I'll ask some questions at the end. And I'm just so excited to see what you've got prepared for us, Saru. So
Thank you for having me.
take it away.
I am very excited, honestly. And when I was preparing this webinar, I just like, man, like there's so much I can talk about this topic, and I could just go on and on. That I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Then like I'm just looking at this. I just thought the reason I'm so passionate about this topic is because I so today we're going to talk about life transitions and the relationship with mental health. And since life transitions can be a lot of things, and I just want to focus on like environmental and contextual transitions. And the reason I'm very passionate about it is just because I began to move frequently when I was 18. And the longest I've stayed in one place was like, has been about like 5 years. And ever since I just moved counseling every single years or two, like a couple years and all that kind of stuff. So each move has brought its own like emotional and very cognitive challenges, but then also like each time they taught me something new about adaptation and like, identity and growth. So that was like really a mixed feelings about this kind of life transition experience. So yeah, I can go on and on. It's just endless for me to talk about it, but I'm just gonna try to make it as simple as possible for everyone. Okay, so like I said, I try to keep it as simple as possible. So they're just gonna be three big sections. So first, I'd just like to go through the examples of life transitions, and secondly, I just want to talk about like what impact it could be in this experience. And then lastly, just like how can we take care of ourselves during these transitions. And there's a huge list of the example of life transitions. And I listed out from the earlier lifespan to like later. And then lastly, just environmental and contextual transitions. That's like across all kind of lifespan. But since I've seen the little kids as well, so I did see some kind of like life transition. Let's say early childhood when they started going to daycare the first time. That's a big transition for them because imagine they only know they grew up, only know their parents, their family members, their house, the park they go to every day, and all of a sudden being put into the room with full of kids that look like them, and the stranger teachers start telling them to do stuff, and that could be really overwhelming for a little one. So something like that to be considered, that the impact for that kind of transition. And when this involved to like a adolescent emerging adulthood transition, which is one of the most important moment, and then that is also the time that parents sometimes will report that, let's say, from going to a smaller school to a bigger school because of the elementary to middle school, sometimes like just have to like switch school like that, or sometimes it could be like social status with peer groups that interests change, then they have to want to go hang out with different people and all kinds of stuff. And in this stage, they also like on their internally wise, they are exploring identity, values, and life directions. And when they experiencing that transition within like hormone wise and all kind of like it's very complicated within like adolescent age because there's so much going on at once. And also like on top of that, they're going to new middle school and the level of the study changed so much, and that could be really overwhelming. And that all that kind of things develop, sometimes they can feel really lonely. So that could really impact to their mental health. And continue-wise, adulthood, I separate into two. One is relational and family transition. The other one is educational and career transition. First one is more like get married, get divorced, get moving together, all that kind of stuff, or become the parents. Those are a huge change for each person's experience. And that meaning that changing lifestyle, changing the way to communicate, or changing the way to think, like how from individualized to how system works, all that kind of stuff. Educational and career transition, that could be something that getting a new job, losing the job, or because want to get better pay, go back to school, or change going to school because want to change the career path. All that kind of can include into this section as well. And that switch, it can be very exciting, but it's also going to be very distressed because there's just like so much changing at once, and it can be very how do I put this, very stressful sometimes, or it can be very confusing because your identity just gets switched a lot. Let's say you are the boss of the company and you want to get better at some kind of skill, so you have to go back to school. And then you are not a boss anymore. You have to become a student. And that identity change can be difficult or challenging for some people. Then health-related transitions is something we don't really consider sometimes until that happened to us. The biggest one is like being diagnosed with a serious or chronic illness like cancer. People struggle with coping with it because like all of a sudden you have to change your lifestyle, your diet, the way you live, more hospital visit. It can impact your financial situations. Or all of a sudden you were an independent person, all of a sudden you have to like rely on family members. And family members also experience this part of transition, become like a main caregiver. And that means that changing their working routine, changing the way they doing stuff because somebody's need to be taken care of. And that could also impact too the mental health wise. It's just like stress and sometimes can connect to hopelessness, all that kind of like heavy feelings. And later adulthood and aging transitions, people who experience that retirement usually is about like age 65, but now we live longer. So that means there's maybe 20 more years, 30 more years ahead of the time that um, you want to figure out what to do, and all of a sudden you don't know what to do because you've been doing this job 9 to 5 for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years even, and all of a sudden they just like, you don't have that anymore. What do I do with that time? Who I am anymore? I'm not an employee. And you can feel a certain feel of grief and loss. And also like when people getting older age, what I heard a lot is that you get the call from a friend going to a funeral. You're going to a funeral more than birthday party from this around this time. So that could be giving the sense of grief, loss, depression, all that kind of feelings, and feeling hopelessness as well because you just think so you might be the next, or you feel like the people who you are close to, they are gone one by one, and that kind of sense too. And the other one is like shifting from independence to living arrangements that family thought you cannot take care of yourself anymore. They want to move you to the house, like assistant living, and the change of the community, the style, the living style, routine, people who you see every day, that's going to change all at once, and that could be difficult as well. And lastly, which we kind of focus on today, is environmental and contextual transitions, and which is going to go through like across a lifespan experience. And that means like moving to a new city, new country, or like migrating or relocated due to family, work, or safety. That's it, war. Um, Adjusting to like new culture and social environment would be part of it, this experience. And then sometimes that experiencing major social disruptions, moving because of like a natural disaster, your home is not there anymore, you have to get relocate to different places, not your choice. So today I want to focus on this section of the life transitions. So from now on, the example I would like to use, I will just base on like environmental and contextual transition. Okay. It's a lot to take in because life transition just kind of part of who we are and how life goes on. But that transition is normal and universal, and it's particularly frequent and identity shaping, especially emerging adulthood, which was like a adolescent, that kind of time. Like it just kind of like that is like a key timing for people to kind of learn how to become who you're gonna become in the future. But again, I believe people are flexible, so they sometimes can like switch around or like slowly learn different experience and slowly grow into different shape. That's possible. And this life transition is also like often involving to like social disruptions and reorganizations. And during that kind of period, sometimes people experience that vulnerability or feeling loneliness and stress. And that's very normal. A lot of time people be like, life transition is just part of life. You just need to get used to it. You just have to adjust it well, and then you're just gonna move on. It's not as simple as it sounds like, and it's involved with a lot of emotions. And I just hoping talking about it can kind of raise awareness of like how it can impact our mental health and how we can take care of ourselves. And again, it can be like a growing, promoting experience, or it can be distressing. That's it. You learn something in this experience, and you make that experience become your nutritious of growth, and you grow into a different shape that can cope with the new life better. Or it's just too overwhelming, it's just too much going on at once. There's no time and energy to kind of like sorting out what's going on and become like a long-term distress experience. Let's say move to a new place, you don't have washer and dryer, you have to like drive to somewhere to do laundry, you don't have that time, laundry is just piling up. What do? I have to get new clothes, otherwise I don't have clean clothes. It can be like a tumble, like a slippery slope like that, small as like that, but then it's very distressing experience. So it can be anything, but depends on the context and support. Individual meaning making, it can look very different. And here, like I highlighted meaning making. When I was working on this slides, I just realized I use a lot of meaning making words, so I just want to explain what that means. Meaning making is usually like how people answer these questions. What does this change mean for me, my life, and who I am becoming? So it's more like how you look at this experience, how you interpret this experience, and how you want to merge that, become part of you. Okay. Danica, any questions so far?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was trying to make sure everybody could see as much of the slide as possible. Yes. So I actually did write down, I know that we're focusing on the environmental and contextual transitions
Hmm.
mainly, but I really love that you discussed childhood, preschool, like that very early childhood time and those experiences as a life transition. I've never thought about it that way. Um, and so I'm curious to know, how do you engage with very young children in therapy around these transitions? What does that look like?
So usually really going back to basic is like helping them to be able to naming their emotions. So as a
Mm,
play therapist, my most of my job is like helping them to recognize how they're feeling, what they're thinking, and in this kind of interaction, they will slowly learn what their needs is, and they will be able to
mhm,
verbalize what's going on to their caretakers, and that can just helping them in this new transition, in these new changes. They can talking about what's going on, because what early childhood and childhood transitions, what happens is the parents can see like a new behaviors. Let's say they become a bit more dysregulated at
mm,
home, or they become more aggressive like they never thought it could be. And that usually because their needs were not met. And that's usually what happened in the therapy, in play therapy especially. It's more like we let them process during play experience, and the therapist's job is just help them to reflect what's going on, and then they will learn from the therapist to how to say what's going on.
love that. That makes total sense. It's fascinating to see something in a whole new light and think about it really differently. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Any other questions you have so far?
Um, Not at this point. I will have a well, I really resonated with what you said about like older adulthood. Um, that you hear that folks are going to funerals more than they're going to birthday parties. I think that that's so poignant and so visceral. That hit me
Yeah,
hard.
I heard
And
that
yeah,
from my grandpa, actually.
yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he and that just like stuck in my head. He's no longer with us anymore,
sure.
but I remember there was a time that he would get like phone calls from friends, but then usually it's just like I say, "Are you gonna go to so and so's funeral this weekend
Hmm.
and next weekend
Hmm.
and following weekends?" And he just like, "Well, I'm going to more funeral than birthday party now."
Yeah,
And I just thought that's so true, but it's really sad.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Well,
yeah.
thank you for sharing that with us, because I think it's important for us to keep that in mind. Even though it is sad and all of that, it's so important to keep that um, empathy for both ends of the lifespan, right?
Hmm.
To understand that learning how to be a human is really hard and it's a huge transition, and you know, kind of coping with all of the changes at the end of life can be
Yeah,
really
of course.
beautiful and hard as well. So thank you.
That's part of life, but yeah, just how I think it's really good to transitioning to the next section of the topic is I'm going to talk about
Perfect.
impact of the
Yeah,
life transitions. Um, so again, it's a bunch of lists, and I'm trying to like keep it as simple as possible. But yeah, I'm just gonna start in talking from the most like internally is like more emotional and psychological impact, which means that we will experience some mixed feelings. That could include excitement, grief, fear, or it can be really you just feel like so happy that I'm going to a new place, or you can feel like Oh, I since I moved, I'm so far away from my family. I'm gonna miss um, my mom's birthday party, something like that. And it could cause like a stress and anxiety and emotional dysregulation that we talked about earlier with the younger kiddos. That transitioning is very stressful time because you're relearning everything, and that just so overwhelming. And for the adults, maybe we just feel a little bit like distressed or feel a little depressed. But for younger kids, when they could not naming it or when they couldn't recognize what's going on, what they're gonna do is they might just showing dysregulation, start throwing stuff at home or start like throwing punches at parents. Um, so different developmental will show different way, and sometimes even like you can trigger the grief responses because transitions means you lost something. Again, you lost a time of like I say, the special time with your family, or you lost a sense of the community, and that could be or becoming parents. You lost your original identity because now you are not the individual. You are somebody's mom, and that could be very impactful to the psychology way. And then in like a let's say moving to a new place, you lost a sense of the support, and that would be identity and sense of self. I think I kind of mix a little bit between these two, but identity is so like a mom, the woman become mom, or like um, you were a boss in this company, all of a sudden you are the student, or the social and relational. That could be something like you moving to one place to another. After that, you feel like you lost a sense of social network because you used to know how to hang out with this group of people, and now you move to a new place. You don't find the same people anymore, so you have to recollect it, or you might never find anyone like them anymore, and you can feel really lonely. And um, behavior and functional, I will use myself as example as a person who moved from Taiwan to America, which is the outside of the earth. Um, Time changes, the jet lag was a thing, and my sleep schedule has to change. My diet has to change because I couldn't have the same food access anymore, so I had to find the food that I feel comfort with, or that the way I restore my energy looks very different. Maybe I used to go to here to get coffee, and then where boost my energy, or that's where I do yoga. But now I moved to a new place. I had to find those resources again, or I had to find different way to restore my energy. And most importantly, my routine is different once I moved to a new place, and then that could look very um, again exciting, but it can be very exhausted because you have to adjust to a new routine and rebuild that consistency, and until it becomes like a pretty structured, it just allowed adjusting, and then to myself I just feel really very tiring in that experience. um, Cognitive impact, so that just more like let's say I moved to a new place, that I have to readjust everything for uncertainty to decision fatigue. And I like to use this as an example that say I moved to a new place, I don't have any of my cooking ware, and had to go find the cooking ware that fits the way I cook. But I'm from Asia to America. The way we cook is a little bit different, especially like America. I realized that every household had oven, and in Asia we don't. So it's just a very different way of like a cooking basic. It's just different. And when I just moved here, I took a lot of time looking for the pot and pan that works for me, and I also like went to multiple Asian market to find that um, the long chopsticks I feel comfortable to use. That kind of stuff. I know it sounds really small, but then it could be very. Um, it feels like a little small things piling up and can be very very stressful because you just feel really constantly you had to make that kind of decision and you had to constantly make that kind of research and that just too much.
Absolutely. And that's one of those things that, so I'm sitting here just thinking through, like, those are logistics that you've never had to think through before. And that is, it's overwhelming. And like you said, it just adds up. So those little things that keep you from functioning the way that you're used to kind of in everyday life, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, really. So, when those very basic things, the things that we take for granted, aren't as easily accessible, then it makes the harder things to cope with almost out of reach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a huge impact. Goodness.
Yeah.
Also, I did not realize that there were not ovens.
it
Wild. Yeah.
Yeah, moving to a new place is just a lot, in my own opinion,
Yeah.
even though I've been moving a lot in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just kind of like, especially I was moving from Taipei to St. Louis, and the biggest
Mm-hmm.
experience that I experienced was I was from the place I don't need a car to move to the place I need to drive everywhere, and I didn't know how to drive when I
Yes.
just moved here. So
Sure.
there was a time period I experienced a big sense of isolation and loneliness. That was something I was not ready or expected before. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and that's like part of the cognitive impact because that just uncertainty of like what's gonna happen, and when it happened I just had to learn how to deal with it. It's just a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good. Like now I'm well adjusted, but it took me
Yes.
some time and patience to myself to get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that it's important for folks who are watching this to, think through both how it's impacted, how different life transitions have impacted, them, you all personally, but then how they've impacted those you love and, those around you, because we're all experiencing our own life transitions, and like you've talked about with like caregiving or identity shifting, you know physically moving, all of that, we experience other people's life transitions in a different way as well.
Yeah, life
Yeah.
transition is not always one thing, even though today we want to focus on the environmental changes, but it's always coming to a lot of different kind of transition as well. So it's always
Hmm.
all connected, and it's really hard to like narrow down one thing. It's definitely connected to many things that say I move. Why did I move? I moved for school. So that means my career transitions, and also me environmental transitions. And also I got married next year.
Yeah.
So that's also like identity transition and relational transition.
Yes,
And those,
familial, all of these. Yeah.
yeah, so it just can impact a lot of things. So from cognitive, and then the following is like a stress related transition may show up in physically. It sounds gonna be really gross, but when I just moved here, my stomach was not well for a couple months.
Of course.
And
That makes perfect sense.
I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that because I moved to New York in my
Oh.
20s and that never
Hmm.
happened to me. And I wasn't
Hmm.
expecting this time I moved to St. Louis. I would be like experiencing discomfort for my stomach. I think it's because age changes as well. And
Sure,
the way
sure.
we can cope with that stress and change just different.
Yeah.
The capacity is different. So that just could cost. That's part of it. And
Mhm.
I think this sounds very common, but stress can add to headache, and that could be part of it too.
Yes. And you can get, obviously I'm no scientist here, but you can get migraines in your stomach as well. They can kind of manifest that way too. So that,
Yeah.
again, not going to diagnose, but that could be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to get diagnosed for that because like you
Mm,
go to see doctor and you just like my stomach is not being well. Well, did you
mm.
eat well? I did. Then what's going on? Maybe you're too stressful. Well, why am I so stressful? Because I just moved
Yeah.
to a new place. So it's all connected, but it just sometimes it's just not really diagnosable,
Mm,
and just have to be very patient to yourself to kind of listen to yourself what you need at the moment.
absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah,
And thanks for sharing your own experiences. We really appreciate it.
I just thought maybe some part of my personal experience would be more resonated to people who are going through
Absolutely.
this kind of things, because it could sound very minor a lot of times, and sometimes we feel like that is so insignificant. It's not worth to share or worth to talk about because it's so small. Who cares? You cannot get along chopsticks. But then,
It makes a
um,
difference.
that's how I cook. And if I don't have long chopstick, I don't know how to cook, or it's just so inconvenient to learn a new tool. So
Well, and for anybody who is, thinking about that, think about, okay, well, now think about it flipped around. If, I move somewhere and my only option is to use long chopsticks, am I still going to feel as comfortable feeding myself as I did prior? So again, that piece of empathy I think it's important to hear about other
yeah.
people's experiences.
Yeah, and the other thing is like developmental impact. So the impact varies by life stage. So let's say the move, and a move of the family of four with two little ones and then two adults. The adults probably will feel different as a little one because maybe adult move for career change, so they are excited, they are looking forward to it. For a little one, that means they're losing the connection with their friends, they're losing their connection with their neighbors, they're losing the connection with the park they loved. So different development stage can feel very different in life transition and in environmental change example. That was how it kind of maybe would look like. Well, again, everyone's different, so maybe the little one is excited and the adult is not excited, so it could be switch, but that's just some kind of example. um Grow oriented and positive impact. So all the impact I was talking about, that sounds really negative or stressful, right? But moving to a new environment, that also means the opportunity to learn and opportunity to grow. So once people know what's going on, what's need, what I can do to help myself, support myself, it usually will become sense of like a nutrition thing. Even adding the self-confidence because you got through all this experience, you got through all this distress, and then you just like, wait, now I know how to handle it. I can be flexible. It's okay, I don't have long chopsticks. I will find at one point. I can use different tool at this point, and I will wait till I found that one. And it just needs some time to practice and get used to that kind of discomfort. But once you know what's going on, it's just gonna grow from there. Okay. So again, the impact, the significance depends on available social support, previous experience with change, developmental stage, and coping resources and meaning making. Again, the meaning making is out again. It's just like how you view what this life transition mean to you. Um, Available social support is also important because like once you move to a new place, especially, you want to look for that kind of resources. So at least you know when something happens, you can get that resource to support yourself. And if you don't find those, that stress level is very different. Okay. And the last part is self-care. So I put this at the first because I just thought this is the most important one. It's called emotional care. Emotional care sounds very abstract, but basically it just name your emotions. Sounds simple enough, but again, how often do we talk about our feelings? How often do you look at someone and say, I am sad? How often do you look at someone and say, I'm exhausted? When people ask you, how are you? What do you usually say? I'm fine. Is that a real answer? Do you actually recognize your feelings? So be honest to yourself, name your feelings. Try not to be judgmental. It's okay to feel all the feelings. That's healthy. Journaling. Journaling is one of the things usually being recommended in a lot of self-care. Be honest with you all. I'm not a fan of journaling because it overwhelms me. But what I like to do is gratitude journal, and that is simple way to kind of review your day, self-reflections. And the simplest way you can do is at the end of the day, you write down 3 things you feel grateful for. And lastly, you write down what do you look for tomorrow. And that's it. Simple enough. You just have to think of what do you feel grateful for that day. And talking with supported people is always helpful. That will make you get the sense of connections with others. And lastly is practicing self-compassion, which is a lot of time people find very challenging. I myself too. We are the worst critics for us to ourselves. And I'll talk a little bit more about self-compassion in the next slide. But it just be patient to yourself and be honest to yourself. Accept who you are, and that just when we say love ourselves, it's not a cheesy love yourself. It's actually accept thoroughly about yourself, and sometimes it needs some time to practice. Second one is movement and mind-body practice. So not only we recognize how we feel, we also want to keep our body going so we don't stuck at one place. And that means that physical activity, walking around, doing yoga, or going to some sports, or practice some grounding exercise, deep breathing, muscle relaxation. You can find some kind of good resource through YouTube. There's like a deep breathing, visualize thing that you can follow to breathe. Those are usually very helpful. Establish like a consistent sleep and meal routines. That just have the routine means you know what to expect. Having routine means you don't have to plan for that things because that just gonna when the time hit, you're just gonna do that thing simple enough. You don't have to make decision at a time. Lastly, it's just like starting with something small, achievable goals. Don't think of I'm moving to a new place, new me, new chapter. I'm gonna do new things. I'm gonna run every single day. If you're not a runner in your whole life, do not set that kind of goal. You're just gonna set yourself to fail, which is fine. That's okay. But something small, achievable can give you a sense of confidence, and that will keep you go further than setting something too big and not achievable, and you just kind of feel upset about yourself. So we don't want that. So self-compassion. I want to highlight this because that's the most important things about self-care. That means giving yourself permission to feel mixed and or unexpected emotions, that including that. Let's say moving to a new place, I feel so excited. I'm supposed to feel excited. Why am I feeling sad? And that is okay. If you notice you're feeling sad, be curious about it. Why am I feeling sad? I'm supposed to be excited. This moving is what I wanted. I always wanted this move. This is so good for me. But why am I feeling sad? Be curious about it. Ask yourself questions. What's going on? And be honest to yourself. And if you need it, take breaks without guilt. It's okay to take a break. Don't have to keep go 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 mode because it's very exhausting and nobody's like judging you or watching you. Nobody would know if you want to take a little break. That's okay. And adjusting timelines. Let's say you thought, okay, I'm moving to new places. I want to spend the first week to get to know the environment. And second weeks, I'm gonna do so and so. Third week, so and so. If you missed it, that's okay. Nobody's setting a deadline besides yourself. So be flexible. Be nice to yourself. And lastly, not having all the answer right away. That is okay too. Especially moving to a new place. You are relearning everything. You are relearning every resources. If you don't know anything, you must take some time to find it, like my chopsticks. That's okay. Just take your time. Um, yeah, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things I love that you talked about really like having giving permission essentially to take the breaks, to adjust the timelines, again, to not have all the answers. And that self-compassion piece, I wonder if you would think about it kind of this way as well, of would you expect anyone else to go, go, go without taking a break? Would you expect anyone else to adhere to really strict timelines that were completely self imposed or to have every other answer? And I think most of us would say no, like we wouldn't expect that of someone else who is dealing with the same transition. Um, and so, why do we expect those things of ourselves?
Exactly. But like I say, we're the worst critic to
Yep.
ourselves.
Yes. So, give yourself the gift of self compassion, please.
Yeah, it is so
Yep.
important, and that's like I was like a one of the core of the self love. We usually say self love is like, oh yeah, take the spa day or get some nail done. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
part of the self love. But did you give your permission to actually let you be yourself, not
Right.
beating yourself up, because that could give yourself the stress that only you give it to yourself. So that's
Exactly.
not usually worth it.
Nope.
So I just want to highlight this part in the self care, especially
Yes.
experience like a life transitions, that kind of experience. It's just so much going on besides that, what's going on with you individually,
Mhm.
that also what's going on internally, like how you feel, and systemically, what's going on with people around you and the environment around you, and the relation wise, like how you interact with these new people in your new
Mm.
transitions, that also looks very different too. So all these kind of things considered, be nice to yourself, be patient to yourself. It's so much going on. uh,
Exactly.
yeah, just yeah, it's okay.
Yes. Yes. So thank you. I love that you included this.
Yeah. um just a couple more slides about self-care. So now we come into the place that's cognitive and meaning making self-care, which means like reflect on like personal meaning of the transitions. What does it mean to you, and what do you want from this experience? Explore the values and goals. Use narrative and creative expressions. That means like making art, storytelling. That could be journaling. And the other example I like to give is making a little reel from Instagram. That could help too, because like
Oh, fun.
you take photos every day. Most of people, some
Yeah.
people don't. Most people take
Sure.
photos, and then maybe you just put them together and mindfully select the music that you feel for this time period. That could be
I
something
love
you
that.
narrative that experience of life transitioning.
Yes, I love the idea of normalizing, you know, making that post for social media as creative expression and like narrative storytelling, all of that. I did write this down earlier. I really appreciate that you said you're not a fan of journaling. Thank you for being real and honest about that. I think it's very rare that a therapist will actually say like, nope, that's not for me. um, and that you gave a really great example of the simple practice of doing a gratitude, either journal or expression of some sort. And so if folks didn't, write that down, definitely rewind, go back, and write that down and see about practicing that. I think that was really, really important and really meaningful.
Yeah, thank you. I
Thank
hope
you.
that helps. And yeah, because I'm talking about like, moving transition, so like community
Mhm.
connection can come into very important as well. Because like when we live in one place, we slowly building the community for ourselves. But then when we move to a new place, that means we have to reconnect with people. And to my own experience, art and craft people are my community, and that took me some time to realize that. So when I moved to St. Louis, the first things I was like looking for art foundation, looking for where craft
Mhm.
people being active, and now like I have the people I go to, and I just feel sense of support and community, and that just kind of like helped me to feel like I'm connected with some sort of group than just being myself and feeling like really isolated from everyone. So that just being kind of
Mhm.
like reduce that stress. And then another one is a little bit directed to like international students, so connecting with peer with a similar backgrounds or the community. That means like international students going to the new country, new school.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes a lot of things are very confusing because most of the international students before they move, they were not being taught like what to expect in a different country. They might have
No.
the different expectations as well. And now they're going to like a new
Mhm.
school, new environment. It's a good idea to like find people who came from a similar background or culture to kind of reconnect with it. Um, to ask questions about like getting connections of where do you
Mhm.
get your comfort food? Where do you play together? Where do you hang out? Just kind of like get some kind of sense of support. Um, Usually that how that works, but my personal experience also told me that's not usually like it didn't work for me. So it really
Okay.
depends on who you are. Some people can feel stressful, which is me.
Mm,
I feel
sure.
stressful to like hang out with the people from the same background. So I think it depends on who you are, but that's something that you might want to like discover that through going through this experience, realize this is not for me, or
Yeah.
talk to someone that realize what's your need or what you're looking for is all
Mhm.
important. And the other thing I also noticed that now Facebook has like what's going on in so and so place. That's like what's going on in St. Louis. Those kind of Facebook page can be helpful sometimes. I saw a
Awesome.
lot of people they moved to St. Louis and they would join that kind of group, and they would ask
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm from that's say Texas. I'm looking for this so and so resource. Can anyone give me like a recommendations?" Or you can simply like, I'm looking for the Vietnamese food. Can people give me recommendations? And you just kind of feel like, oh yeah, people actually care about this. Again,
Yeah.
another insignificant example, but those are the things can kind of give us like a little sense of belonging that you don't feel alone.
Exactly. Exactly. And even if people, again, I appreciate that you sharing your experience, talked about how like finding that kind of in group network, the individuals who are from the same area you're from, like that wasn't comfortable for you. Um, I think it can also not I think I've seen, from the campus that I used to work on, um, folks who are from different backgrounds but have experienced a similar transition connect with each other. So, even in like a multicultural space, um, or like a multicultural center or group, club, whatever it looks like in a particular setting, um, you folks might not share the exact same background, but that shared experience of transitioning to a new place was enough to create common ground and camaraderie there as well.
Right. I'm glad you brought this up because I think that's my next slide.
Perfect.
Um, so, resource navigating and seeking help, and one is like therapy and counseling, and the other one is support groups with people with similar transitions. So, it's not necessarily have to be coming from the same background. It can be people who experience a similar transition experience. Let's say people from two different nationality. It can be one person is from Japan, the other person is from India, but then they both encounter to the shitty roommate, and then now they had the similar topic to talk about, or they both encounter the difficulty to navigate American culture. That could be the topic to talk about. So it's not necessarily has to be coming from the same background, because people from different background might have a similar transitioning experience, and that could be some good way to reconnect with new people that you met in that community.
Absolutely. Yes. And again, great examples there. The shitty roommate, we've all had them. And
I've heard
yes.
enough.
Yep.
And lastly, this is something I kind of like highlighted a little bit is digital environmental boundaries. Since I think the social media adding some layer of the stress in our life in some way
Yes.
for some people. So limit social media comparison during sensitive transition periods is very important. um,
Yes.
that's a moving experience. You have terrible moving transition experience, and you just
Mhm.
couldn't find your people. You feel lonely. You couldn't find your comfort food. And if you went on social media, the algorithm might show you about some people also just experience moving, but they're
Mhm.
showing all this like luxury living environment, um,
Yes.
all accessible comfort food, strong people
Mm.
connections, and you'd be like, am I not doing good enough? What's going on? Why my life
Right.
is so bad right now? Why I'm feeling so lonely? And looking at that video, you're just like, I am very lonely. I'm terrible. It just makes you question yourself more, and it's not very
Exactly.
healthy. So if you experience that, just gotta remember you are not terrible. You are just experiencing something not everyone experiencing. You are not.
Yes.
You are good enough. And
And
looking at those comparisons, it's not really healthy because you are the one can decide what good life's supposed to look like.
right.
So if that happened to you, just put it away. And second one is create a calming space and rest and recharge. Bring your phone to
Mhm.
the other room and do something else in different room. Put the phone into silent mode. Take a break from it. Set the boundary with your phone. It's not healthy to compare yourself to everyone else
No.
in the world. So
Absolutely.
something
Yes.
to be
And keep in
mindful.
mind, yeah, that you're comparing, in those moments, those really low moments that we all have, you're comparing your outtakes to everyone else's highlight reel, right? They're not putting the um, worst thing that they're feeling or even the most of their real experiences on social media. They're putting the best of the best out there. And so when you go in a low point, um, you're not putting your low point out there, most likely. And so you're not comparing to the same experience.
I have to say though, I do appreciate nowadays. I do see more and more people are feeling more comfortable to being open and
Vulnerable.
vulnerable to showing
Yeah.
what's going on with their life, and people feel resonated and being heard that
Mhm.
time. So I do say those video existed, but sometimes it's hard to not compare ourselves with other people's life.
Yeah.
So I would say if you started feeling distressed about looking at other people's Instagram or social media, um, a lot of
Mhm.
people lie. So just
Also that.
be mindful about that. That if you see something too glamorous, it's probably not true.
Mm.
So skip that or unfollow those. Just
Uh-huh.
kind of keep your mind clear.
Exactly.
Okay.
Protecting your space, protect your peace. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
know we'll need to wrap up pretty soon. So, yeah, what are your kind of final thoughts, suggestions, and how can folks really, how could a therapist help with all of this and help folks navigate these major life transitions?
Yeah. So the last slide I put here, we are. So knowing all this, like what life transition is and how they can impact you and what kind of self care you can do. It seems a lot, and unfortunately, that's part of our life.
Mhm.
And it can be very overwhelming and it can be very exhausted. And as a therapist, we can help to provide emotional support and validations because sometimes it just so much going on with our feelings, and sometimes all these emotions got tangled up with like a huge ball of the yarn or whatever, and it's hard to just one person to untangle it. So my job basically to help you to recognize what's going on, and we can untangle them one by one and validate your feelings. Sometimes, like I say, we are the worst critic to ourselves. So my job is to let you know you are good enough. You are trying the best you can. And the other thing is identify strengths and resources.
Mm.
Sometimes there's resources in front of us and we don't recognize it. Sometimes there's a support around us and we just don't feel it. And my job is to let you know there's some available resources to you, and um, to help you to identify those and to be able to reach out to those. Developing coping strategies is part of it as well, to kind of like see what you can do. What's your strengths? That's the first things. And then what you
Uh-huh.
can do with all these transitions and exhaustions. Finally, it's like goal setting and future planning. It's like, what's your goal for this life transition? What would you like to get it out from? Again, the meaning making. Like, what do you
Yes.
see in this experience and what do you want to get it from? And my job is to help you to figure that out and also to do some future planning together about like see where do you want to go and how we can get there. So that's all.
Wonderful. Well, I'm I'm so appreciative that you brought all of this both personal and academic experience and professional experience to today's session. And um, gosh, I hope that folks really resonate with the passion you have for helping folks, meaning make like with the meaning making, with finding that routine, finding that next version of you, that next chapter of your life, and really how you can help folks step into that. So of course, for those watching, if you'd like to work with Haru or any of our other incredible therapists at Marvel Wellness, we have information on the screen. You can reach out at the phone number 636-234-3052, email hello at marblewellness.com, or just visit marblewellness.com to look around, get more information, and set up a consultation. We would love to talk with you. So thank you again, Haru. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me to let me talk about this. I can go on and on, but this is the best I can like condense the information I have now.
Well done. Well done. Yes, I'm so impressed because there's so much to talk about here. And you did a wonderful job really, helping kind of break it down and helping to see where folks might fit into this. So thank you. And I hope to hear from folks soon. Take good care.